Welcome to Movie and a Beer, everybody. This is Dan bringing us in, and we have two amazing, awesome friends and co-hosts with us tonight to talk about a really amazing film we just watched.
Amazing film. Welcome, everybody. I'm Aaron. I'm your saddlebag expert.
Ooh.
Happy to be here.
And I'm Blake, and in lieu of Brian not being here, I know everything there is to know about silent protagonists.
There you go.
Yeah,
Bring it on.
right?
So
Well played.
there's a film that came out recently this year.
2023, I think.
2023, yeah. So
Or maybe
a couple
last
months
year.
ago.
Yeah,
No, it's a couple months ago, I think.
Right.
And it's called Sisu. Sisu.
Sisu.
Sisu.
And I think Dan just looked at Aaron to see if he knew what it was stood for.
And
Oh,
it-
geez.
and-
Oh,
just bop him hard.
sorry, man.
Oh, guys, he's going to Sisu me.
It's violence with the microphone.
I don't have your gold. I'm sorry.
like violence in the movie.
So this film is about a solitary prospector who happens to also be a former commando from the Finnish military,
Indeed.
who took out
Yep.
over 300 Russian soldiers.
Something like that, yeah. And what they called the Cold, not Cold, like the Frozen War.
The
or-
Lapland War.
Well, the
But that would have won.
They had like some like lore heavy name for it, I thought.
Oh,
in
the
the
Winter
film.
War.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
Winter
yeah,
War, which
yeah,
happened
yeah.
before then they signed an
armistice.
Aaron is our history expert here at the
sort
table,
of.
sort of.
Finland is not my area of expertise, but what I understand is
Pickaxes.
yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
But dear listener, I almost was going to be the pickaxe expert because there's one that features very heavily in this film. But in the closing days of World War II, Finland made peace with the Allies, and as part of an armistice that was signed, with the Soviet Union, they needed to cut diplomatic ties with Germany and expel German soldiers that were still in Finland at the time that armistice was signed. So the German soldiers, they retreated. They had a scorched earth policy. It was not great for the people living there, of course, but that's kind of the setting of when this film happens. Finland just made peace with the Soviet Union. There are many Nazi soldiers within the borders of Finland, and they're now enemies. Sort of a bad situation.
Oh, yeah.
That got worse.
But we have a former commando, this old grizzled veteran with lots of gray hair in his beard, old man. And
Yeah,
he's
very
trying to-
like a gaunt, like that kind of Eastern European face where he just looks like carved out of soap or stone or
Yeah,
Been around
and
it.
there's
Yeah,
and there's
yeah,
there's
yeah.
a brief flash of let's just say butt end, but you get to see his scars close up, and dude is like literally like head to toe scars. It's just like
he had a scar that Aaron and I were pointing out. I think he got disemboweled. It went from what is this? I think
it was like a little lower his sternum, maybe
like sternum down to like stomach.
like where his appendix would be.
Yeah,
but
it was intense.
gnarly, and he had some like bullet hole scars.
He gets a couple
too.
more in this
Yeah,
movie.
right.
Spoiler alert: he gets a couple more.
He gets a bunch.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So-
but he's a former commando trying to escape World War II, kind of all the effects in the northern part of the country. He's just gold prospecting up there.
Yeah.
To kind of while away the time while there's all this violence
with his dog.
and I
And
wanna
his horse.
say, like
his
it's
horse.
really this film beautifully shows how the war comes to him.
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
prospecting, and you can see like storm clouds moving over this fairly desolate Arctic landscape.
They
Like,
even have the sounds of war and flashes of gunfire as if it's thunder and lightning.
And that's where I was going. Is like
Yeah.
you see the horizon line, and like it illuminates the sky with the artillery bombshells
Yep.
going, and it kind of lights up, and you hear this like dull thunder in the background of like, yeah, there's these big, massive, heavy guns in the distance, and you see the look on this main character's face. He knows it's coming.
Yeah,
He knows it's coming.
and he can't escape.
He's almost resigned to it.
So, do we want to plot spoil this or not? I
Let's-
mean,
no,
obviously,
no. Let's not.
The general premise is that it's not
finds
going to
some
ruin it. He
gold.
finds gold, and he wants to just go take care of the gold.
He wants to
And
live a
comes a-
happy life with his gold.
and he comes across a battalion. I'm not sure what the measurement, like just a
yeah,
trio,
a company.
a company,
of Nazi soldiers.
Because it's probably like 60 men, something like that.
That feels right.
40 men, maybe.
It was closer to 40, but yeah.
But he comes across this company of Nazi soldiers. I guess fleeing, like leaving.
yeah,
Yep, fleeing to Norway because they
And-
need to get out of Finland.
And then right there you see the antagonist of the film, the protagonist of the film cross paths, and they stay crossed.
they stare each other down as one goes by, and he's like, oh, you the nasty guy.
High noon vibes.
It's weird
right?
he says that
much.
too.
It was very much. We talked at the end of it. Is like, was this a Western?
It felt like one.
It really once we got to the end, with everything having happened, we thought it does feel like a Western.
Very
Westerns
so.
tend to have heroes that don't speak, man with no name, barely says anything.
Well, and barely saying anything. I want to. So, listeners, if you're maybe hesitant about foreign movies because of subtitles or the dubbed language, there's so little dialogue in this movie,
and they filmed it in English.
It mostly filmed in English, and then the main character says so few words. I was commenting earlier. I don't think I've seen another movie where there's a supporting actor or actress that says more than the main character, and that's the case in this movie.
Yes.
The closest would be is maybe a Clint Eastwood Western, maybe. And that's just because his opponent is like a motor mouth.
But if
then,
but if your attitude is like subtitles are a lot of work, I don't want to
this
movie. You're gonna be just fine.
Your key thing is the visuals. This is a beautiful. It's a haunting, rough looking movie in some parts that for those who aren't great with gore, there is some that's a little rough.
There's some pretty gnarly scenes.
It's like if Tarantino toned it down a little is what it feels like, because his stuff gets wacky.
Yeah.
And this is
there's some triggers in it though. There is some there's animal that gets killed, which is really sad.
But the
unexpected.
But the point I wanted to make was, well, it's still haunting. Like there's a shot that I couldn't stop thinking about was women in front of a tank. That doesn't spoil anything.
Yeah.
Or Aaron pointed out him
collecting gold.
Him collecting gold on his knees as these tanks and this company appears out of the mist. It was just really just haunting and beautiful. This movie's shot so well.
Well, and there's such a power dynamic there that's displayed so well, because this one person,
he's scrambling about
trying to collect all of this valuable gold that he's worked hard for. And then you see, these enemy soldiers,
these uniformed enemies,
and these personnel characters kind of run out on the side, and you see it's almost kind of like Luke Skywalker by himself.
I was just thinking
all of the Imperial stormtroopers lining up,
the similar
kind of vibe,
similar kind of costuming in the Star Wars universe. All the good guys have earthen tones and casual wear, and then all the enemies are in full uniform, stark colors.
This is something I was thinking about too, because our hero kind of relies on a horse and a pickaxe and rope. Our antagonists have tanks and machine guns and airplanes.
A lot of guns.
Things that use
guns.
Fuel. And there's almost this sort of dynamic of being in harmony with nature versus technology and tanks.
He does wash himself in the river, and all the soldiers are disgustingly filthy.
Right.
Except their teeth. Because it's
it's
still a movie.
Yeah, it's still a movie. They all have good teeth.
It's not as bad as American films where, in a post-apocalypse, the woman wakes up and just perfect makeup and hair.
Yes. So the word Sisu, as known and translated at the beginning of the film,
it's not. I guess not even translated. Just here's what it means.
Yeah, this is what it means. There's not a direct definition, so it's one of those weird words from their language, because it happens there because they live in a really weird place, which is really desolate,
which requires a lot of hope.
Yes. So it is a white-knuckled form of courage and unimaginable determination in the face of overwhelming odds. Yeah, and you see him clench his fists a few times. They do close-ups.
Oh my God, they do.
Yep.
I can't believe I missed that.
Yep.
You have to, yes, of course, this has been compared to John Wick meets Tarantino meets, Clint Eastwood Western kind of vibe. But I really think it holds its own from the standpoint
of course.
There's expectation that, we're going to hang you and you're going to die. And it's well, maybe not.
I think the comparisons to John Wick make sense. Dan mentioned there's a point where he was back against the wall and he used technique over strength to take out an enemy,
right?
Which is a very John Wick thing. And incapable of staying down is also very John Wick.
Never give up.
Never give up.
But I think after that, the comparisons kind of peter off. This guy's my new favorite action hero. He is incredible. I should get the actor's name because we just keep saying him.
It's Jorma
Tamia, Tomila.
I think none of us here speak
Tamila
Finnish.
Tamila probably.
And his character name is Tommy. I don't know if that's
he had a moniker that the
Russians gave him.
Yeah, and I cannot remember.
I was like,
go watch it.
Some of the scenes is kind of like, oh, that's like Baba Yaga. He just refuses to go down. It's just like, I keep getting back up, and it doesn't matter how hurt I am. I'm just going to keep going. And it's that's amazing because the minimalism with very few special effects other than like gunfire and a few explosions, and there's like a plane, there's some plane action stuff, but besides that, it's all practical.
Dan, this is the next thing I was going to bring up, because the difference is the way that this is like visually displayed as compared to how an American movie would show it. No explosions, no special effects, and actually, I think it's better for it because all the practical effects look so convincing and so realistic. And, there are plane crashes or there are vehicular crises.
Yeah, Aaron and I were discussing the vehicular crises. That's what it was in Jurassic Park when the T-Rex is trying to eat those kids.
Yes. Yeah, true. Also a vehicular crisis.
But we were talking about how a plane crash in an American movie would be easily a minute and a half with the plane bumping into stuff, crashing over the course of like an entire field, and you keep seeing the hero like bumping, jostling around, like oh man, when he gets out, he's got a couple of scratches and a bruise.
But also explosions everywhere. There would be explosions everywhere. Yeah. Right here, the way it's, I don't want, this isn't a spoiler, right? The vehicular crisis, it's shown, you see dirt flying through the air to demonstrate the force of impact. And like it's so effective.
Yeah,
it's so effective. This whole movie, all of the ways that a punch is sold, or being shot, it's also effective because it's shown in such a convincing way.
They really bust up the hero. Mm-hmm. Like he looks like he's having a bad
he gets
time.
Beat up a lot.
And I applaud I guess we'll just keep making these comparisons. I applaud the John Wick movies because the ones I've seen, Keanu, he lets him put damage in on his character, and he looks like he's getting busted up. It's still no level of this movie. Mm-hmm. And I wonder how much of that is like just American sensibilities, because we also have less nudity and more gun violence than a lot of in movies and real life in movies than other films. The way that a lot of Mad Max films got big because Australians are like big into cars,
right?
Like cars are their guns, quote unquote. Like they're their big action thing.
I was going to say, and so the female,
the gender relations,
the relationship, because he looked at the females.
Female captives.
In the internet, there were female
captives.
Of his own nationality, and he's looking at them like they're his wife or his kids. I'm like, he's looking at them like, I'm going to rescue you.
Yeah, right.
They just once he sees that they're there, he's like, I need to do something about
there's
that.
There's nothing in the movie that suggests that he knows them. They kind of hint that they don't know him personally, but he just walks in like, nah, we're helping.
They know the legend, and that's all you got to know.
Yeah, and that's all that they say. And like they just know him by reputation.
This movie's really good.
one of the reviews I saw said this is one of the best movies of 2023, and then it said actually this is probably one of the best movies of the 2020s.
Ooh,
and I was gonna ask, like, where do you guys rate? I mean,
I'm trying to think of the last couple of years of movies.
I know as far as action movies go, this is phenomenal. This might be my favorite action movie.
I put this up there with The Raid Redemption. And that's great because it's just the martial arts like choreography and just the realism. Like those guys get tired during the fight. Like you see them getting worn down. And I feel like this kind of captures that too, where you look at him like he just wants to sleep. Yeah. And he's got to get this done.
And he keeps going anyway.
Keeps going.
And you had mentioned as we were watching it, a majority. So this film is broken into short chapters.
Yeah, and 6 of them, I think.
And some of them take place literally like within the same day. Like it's like a 24, 48 hour period.
Right.
The beginning of it, there's some time jumps because he's prospecting, and they show him finding and getting hints of where to dig. And
it's not fun to watch prospecting in real time.
It's slow. I was like, how long? Slow. I'm like, dude dug like a 4 or 5 foot hole in the ground in permafrost.
It was I didn't even think of that.
I'm like, you know how long that pickaxe is going to get worn down? Like it's going to be turned into a nub because that's hard ground and it's really slow, tedious work.
This guy's very special.
And the thing is, so he obviously has a lot of strength, but he's not big. He's not like super buff.
Yeah, he's lean.
Like a lot of American heroes, action heroes are buff. I mean, Keanu, not so much. He's just tall and skinny.
They also keep him in a suit, which is pretty fun. But like in the 80s especially, heroes were getting bigger and bulkier and puffier.
Like the Schwarzenegger effect.
The Schwarzenegger, your Sylvester Stallones.
So this, in talking about Sylvester Stallone, we had mentioned that this is almost Rambo-like.
This was the director was inspired by First Blood. Yeah,
yeah. He manages his own wounds. He takes care of himself.
Very self-sufficient.
He's using his environment to his advantage when he needs to. It's just really sad because he's just trying to do something simple, and people get in his way and try to stop him, and then take his stuff, and he has to get it back.
Yeah,
right. And that's all it is. It's a very simple story.
Yeah. It's pretty, it's almost the hero's journey to an extent, or at least the Dan Harmon story circle. Like he wants comfort is taken. I guess he grows. He doesn't really grow, really. He just kind of maintains.
He decides partway through.
I take back what I said.
he was going to give up the gold, and then he decided not to.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, he was going to give up, and then he didn't.
Man, what a good movie.
Yeah.
So
I would say, Aaron, this is really I don't know if it's my top 5 of all time yet.
Right.
It's for sure top 3 of the 2000s. This is a phenomenal film.
We've now spent like 20 minutes saying only good things about this movie. Can you say anything bad about this movie? Like, is there any criticism yet?
I wish they would have done the whole thing in Finnish or German and just had subtitles.
It being in English was kind of strange.
It was hokey. It was hokey to me.
Didn't love the lead villain, Bruno, the Nazi commander. He kind of kept making the same face.
Yeah, he made the same face.
I kept thinking time. You could express differently.
Wolf at least made most of his character. The guy
Wolf had a lot more character than Bruno.
He was the
did.
one trying to like kill the guy off a bunch, and the main guy's like, no.
Although I wonder if they were trying to give him a equally stoic villain.
Yeah,
while Wolf is cartoonish.
So Wolf was like the villain's lieutenant. For the listener. So and Bruno was like the main.
I guess he's the commander,
Nazi
right?
tank commander.
The tank commander guy.
I can see the criticism of like, Bruno does seem a little bit one-sided, but one of the things that I really loved about this movie is all the motivations for everyone in the film make sense.
Yeah.
All of the motivations are believable.
Yeah.
All of the decisions the characters make are believable. The outcomes are sometimes fantastic, but believable.
Yeah.
And I think that sells it because it's not, I don't want to say like cartoony in a derogatory way. It's not cartoony at all.
No.
It's like there's a realism here that I think sells the action and sells the story. It heightens the tension and the drama.
We compared it to something...
Shakespeare. No.
I mean, it's a little... well, if there's more talking than Shakespeare.
It's epic.
Oh, doth, if my gold were with me.
Yeah.
Pickaxe to thine brain.
Forsooth.
Yeah.
Forsooth.
So I do want to touch a little bit on, we mentioned, so there's some gore. When there is violence, it is like realistic violence, but some of the action that happens is like, you know how hard it is to shove a knife through someone's skull?
Oh, right.
I mean,
I don't personally.
So the dude uses one of the Nazi soldiers' helmets as a weapon. That's metal. That's not.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that's like using a knife. I mean, you literally can really can hurt somebody really bad with the edge of it.
And they stick to that because there's gunfire that hits the helmet, it pings off, which it does its job.
Yes,
that was the purpose. It's not Keep the bullets out.
But I mean, I felt kind of sorry for the animals because they're very secondary to the storyline, but they're used effectively, and it's sad. You kind of knew something bad was going to happen, and when it does, you're like, "Oh, that sucks."
Yeah.
You have a lot of empathy for the character who loses one of his animals. It's just sad.
And I do like that he doesn't just stay a stoic badass the whole time, just staring dead ahead with his beautiful blue eyes.
All right.
He shows regret over in some scenes and shows like emotion, like, oh no, I hate this.
He is human.
Yeah.
He's not like just steely-eyed Clint Eastwood 100% of the time.
He's not the T100.
No, he's
or
not.
800.
Or
T800,
Yeah, T1000.
So
I thought the 1000 was the liquid one.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm talking about Arnold.
Oh.
He was 800.
Well, in Finland...
I'll have to watch him again.
Sometimes there's beer, right?
Sometimes there's beer. Yeah. So, we didn't quite mention that at the beginning, but we did enjoy a couple
caught
of
that.
beers.
Oh, yeah. This is also a movie and a beer. We were just only talking about movie.
Only
we're
movie.
So excited about this movie. Which, listener, let underscore the recommendation I think we're going to give. This was a phenomenal film.
Yeah.
But we drank beer.
Maybe don't watch it alone, but let's get into the beers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I would agree.
No one drank in this movie. Well, I know they had maybe vodka or something. They had some clear liquid.
I think it was probably vodka.
They had some kind of liquor on the truck, but we had
a couple of beers. So we want to give shout outs to our friends Tim and Petra over at Mac Wine Cellars for providing us with these liquid refreshments today.
In Overlook or Portland, Oregon.
In the Overlook neighborhood. They're on the corner, basically right off the corner of Greeley and Sumner. So if you're on this end of town in Portland, Oregon, yes, Killingsworth and Greeley. My brain's somewhere else. Sorry. Yeah, Killingsworth and Greeley.
It's been a long week, guys.
It has been a long week. They're on the southeast corner. Yeah, check them out. They have a great selection, and these are beers. I had both of these before, but I had a bunch of really big, double, gigantic, big IPAs, and I was like, I don't think that's going to go with the movie, so let's go with a couple of, like a pale ale that's really little hoppy forward. It's lower alcohol, but more hoppy, and then a West Coast IPA, which is less hoppy, but more alcohol. So kind of a dichotomy there.
I like that.
The first one we did was a Mosaic Pale Ale from Stoup Brewing, which is out of Seattle, Washington. It's a 39 IBU, which is, again, low for a pale ale. I mean, it doesn't have to be high IBU.
Refresh myself and the listeners, IBU stands for...
International Bitterness Units.
Yes.
Thank you, Aaron.
So it's just a measurement of the sort of the acids that are left over from the hops.
That's right. Okay.
And it's 5.3%, so it's not high enough to be a quote-unquote IPA, because usually those are over 6. It did have a little bit darker color. It was more of an orange than a yellow, which is cool. It's a very hop-forward but classic American pale in its malt activity. It's just kind of like a white bready chew, not super caramely or anything like that. No roast. It was just kind of a bready chew that's there to support the hops. The hops is kind of just citrus and mango. Kind of very classic with a little pine on the back.
Yeah, I like the citrusy part. I didn't like this beer as much as the other one. I liked it okay.
Yeah, I thought because it was stark and it was kind of sharp, but it just gave you some, I don't know, little hits. The beginning of the movie was slow, and I thought it kind of helped it carry it along a little bit. But that's just my opinion.
What do you think, Aaron?
Well, to me, I guess my palate is also comparing it to the IPA we had right after. But like this wasn't overly hoppy to me. It felt a little clean. I don't want to say subtle. I think that'd be overstating it. But like it wasn't really an intense flavor. It says like heavy-handed with Mosaic dry hopping. Like I guess I got a little bit of like the citrus, a little bit, but it wasn't like, I don't know.
Yeah, it says Mosaic in the name of the beer, so it is. That is the focal point, is the Mosaic Pale Ale. So they're going to, when you dry hop with the beer, you're getting aromatics. But we will say these beers are a little old. They're not super fresh.
Be what it is. With like dry hopping, it might be more of the aromatic and like less of like when you're actually drinking it, you get that kind of hop profile.
Correct.
But I'll go through the marketing copy if you really like.
Ooh, I got that. Government warning according to, nope, wrong thing.
Mosaic Pale Ale, 5.3% alcohol by volume, 39 IBU, a highly drinkable hop-forward beer with a classic American Pale Ale malt bill. Heavy-handed Mosaic dry hopping gives this beer a nice nose, packed full of citrus and mango. Upfront aroma, balanced... Oh, geez, I can't...
Balanced bittering.
I fail as a radio announcer.
You're on a pretty good roll. I like it. I'd hire you.
As well.
Upfront aroma, balanced bittering, and a moderate body beg for another taste.
And another.
By Stoup Brewing, Seattle.
And another. So yeah, I would agree.
I feel like we're about to cut to Drew Carey. It's not, just doing the Price is Right voice. I was
trying to Phil Hartman more, but anyway.
Ooh, I can see that. I can see the Phil Hartman.
So yeah, good beer.
I don't think it quite matched the movie as much as the other one.
Agreed.
In my opinion.
I agree. I like the other one. It had a more intense hop profile, like a little more bitterness to it, a little more intensity of flavor. And I think that intensity of flavor kind of matched the intensity of what we were watching.
If we were watching a Finnish comedy, which I assume exists, and which might be a bit drier jokes than American comedies, this would probably go pretty well with it.
Sure. So I'm
a little softer.
And so the can art has a lot of like
can art's dope.
A lot of interesting signage and stuff from Seattle.
Pretty much all Stoup, right?
Yeah, it just says Stoup a bunch of different
has like a Bluetooth symbol. It says like a SB.
It's interesting.
Stoup Army, like a Kiss Army.
And it does have an I Heart beer on it, so you got to give it
I do heart beer. It's true.
I've had this before at the Mac Wine Cellar shop, and I really liked it because it was just not super big and heavy in your face.
Yeah.
It's reserved.
It's a reserved beer.
I can appreciate that.
But I will say the second one that we had, which was from Living Haus Beer Company, which
hands
is
down my favorite.
This is their Harris West Coast IPA. It's 55 IBU, 6.7 ABV. So this
Citra,
is
Centennial, and Amarillo.
Amarillo.
Okay.
Yeah.
As the light bends through a radiograph, illumination becomes clear. Cheers.
The world provides us with opportunities for lived experiences every day, and we make beer precisely for those moments.
Yeah, so it's going to have pine, like orange marmalade. So it's going to have that kind of acidic orange citrusy thing, and then a little bit of lime hit on the back.
Which is exactly what I love, is like that citrus flavor. I love citrus.
Likewise, I like the citric acidity.
Yeah.
If there's a little bit of grapefruit, a little bit of lemon, anything that kind of feels that kind of like citric
especially
acidity.
Lemon and lime. I love the really sharp stuff.
Yeah, these guys do a lot of really interesting beers. They're currently in Southeast Portland.
Oh,
in
cool.
the formerly Modern Times
distillery.
Oh, yeah.
No, Modern Times Brewing.
I thought Modern Times was a distillery.
No, it's a brewery out of California. They closed shop.
I could have sworn they made gin.
No.
Are you thinking of not aviation?
I might be thinking of aviation.
Yeah, aviation is gin, and they're down in Southeast also.
Okay.
Because we've driven by there, and both were like, oh, hey, aviation, that's cool.
Yeah, aviation was owned by someone else and then got sold specifically just that brand to Ryan Reynolds.
Yep.
Yeah, I was going to say it's like, owned by...
Celebrity owned. Yeah. And they're still making it here. I mean, it's a separate business now.
What I know about aviation, and aviation was not one of the things we drank tonight, I realized, but they make a good like Norwegian style akavit.
What is an akavit?
It's similar ideas like Scotch. So it's like beer that's been kind of distilled again to become like more intense in the way that whiskey.
Right.
Some of the same structure and foundation as beer, but it's distilled to become
Interesting.
More, yeah. Akavit has kind of maybe caraway and kind of more herbal sort of spicy flavors to it. It's probably an acquired taste. But
it sounds a lot like an acquired taste.
If you're Nordic, like I am, like my family background, and I love it. It's
on.
Great. I'm glad there's people in Portland that are making it because it makes me feel at home.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting product to enjoy. But I think, as we all agree, that this a little bit more, well, I want to say the hop flavors are more present.
Yes.
It's not overpowering. I think it's balanced with, again, this also has a very white bready, there's no roast at all. It's just a light white bready chew, almost crackery in its dryness with the malts. The hops are really dry. This beer is very dry. There's no sweetness at all.
I really liked it more as Dan gave us fancier little, what kind of glasses are these?
Tulip.
It's a tulip. It's
a tulip.
It's a stemless tulip.
So you had to pour some of the beer, drink, and then pour more of the beer. And by the time I poured the second half, it was tasting even better.
Yeah, this one.
I presume it wasn't because I was getting hammered. I presume it's because it tastes tastier when it warms up.
The glass can kind of sometimes help the aromatics to go. And like people get surprised, like what you smell in your nose so heavily influences what you taste.
Yep. What if I poured beer into my cupped hands? How would that affect the aromatics? Keep in mind, I haven't washed my hands all day.
Your hands would warm up the beer, which would actually make those aromatics go a little differently. Some of those stuff would warm up, and the volatile elements in there would come out differently than versus if it was still in the glass and it stayed colder.
But my hands would be sticky, which is bad.
Correct.
Yeah, you should go wash your hands.
Fine. I get up and leave.
Yeah. No.
I'm noisily putting the headphones down.
So yeah, I think out of both of these, because we only drink two, and this is a 90-minute-ish film.
Right? Yeah. But it felt like there was a lot more content to it than that.
It did.
Not to get back on the we love this movie train, but
it went fast. Those 90 minutes went fast.
And I think it's nice if you have something that might shift a little bit as it warms up, because the movie shifts as it goes. I mean, the characters are doing their thing, the beer's doing its thing, but they shift. Both of them change a little bit.
Each chapter feels like different. Like each chapter feels a little different.
And I'm still 30 minutes after we got done. I'm still sipping on mine out of the glass, and it's still. I want to say now that it's warmed up closer to room temp, it's actually a little bit more dry and pithy. It's got more
interesting,
a little bit more dry bitterness to it, and I'm fine with that. It tastes good. This is not a bad beer.
This could be a fool's errand, Dan. Are there any more in the fridge?
We also get more pithy as
I might need to steal it.
There is one in the fridge.
Or I'm happy to share between you boys.
Yeah, it's all good. We definitely really enjoyed this movie. I think I would agree that it is
both beers. Just the second one a little more.
Yeah, a little bit more.
The second one matched the movie a little bit more.
So
they're both good beers.
I agree with that.
We highly recommend. This is not a film for children. It's probably not a film for
don't go
teenagers.
Not a date night. Not a family night.
Not a date night. Not a family night movie.
Weirdest date night ever.
Unless you're both into like shit like that, then
War
cool.
movies.
If you meet somebody that like Kill Bill is one of their favorite movies,
this is for you.
This is for you. This is a date night movie for somebody. If your partner is really into Kill Bill, yes.
There's some, again, we watched a film recently called Renfield, which we did a nice episode on that talked a lot about the gore and how kind of fake it was and funny fake.
Yeah.
This is not funny fake
No,
gore. This is realistic.
Bone crunching feels real. The blast
bullet wounds feel real.
And he sews himself up a few times. And if you're squeamish about a little gore, like I can see the inside.
No shame, but one of us did leave the room for some of the most intense scenes.
And I did look away a couple times. We all know how squeamish I am.
I mean, I can handle it.
No shame.
I can handle it if it's fun or if it's just made to look unrealistic. Because it's funny gore. It's like, oh, the hand got chopped off. And
like in Tropic Thunder when it's clearly extra fake guts just out of his stomach. Like, oh, what do I do?
Yeah. I mean, and there is one scene, and in the end credits, they replay it where there is half of the leg flying through the air because the poor guy stepped on a landmine and it went.
Well, don't step on that landmine. Your leg won't go flying.
But I mean, we're talking about like the exquisite violence of this movie, but there's a couple of comedic moments too.
Oh yeah.
It's balanced. It's so well done.
That's another thing. Just not to rag on American cinema. It's not great right now, but not to rag on it too much. But there are a lot more quips in American film.
Here, it chooses its moments.
Yes. Yeah. He didn't have a lot of one-liners,
right?
Which since the '80s, action movies have been kind of cramming them in there. Yeah. And there's a time and place, but not every single time.
Right. Not every 3
minutes. Let some moments sit.
The one-liner was at the very end.
That was so
brilliant. It's so brilliant.
He is. I don't know where this movie's going to land in like my overall list, but he's top 5 like protagonists. I love this guy's up there with Cliff, the Brad Pitt's character from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. He's up there with him.
I place this in like the highest. I really liked like House of Flying Daggers, or some of the other kung fu movies that we watched.
God, what a good movie.
This is an excellent film, and I know we keep saying this, but like I would say like this is my favorite movie I've seen this year.
I wonder if our opinion will change if we watch more Finnish films. Not even for the podcast, just in general, because we're coming from a. Like I watch
a very Hollywood centric.
I'm aware that like there's flaws with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but I just really like those movies.
Wasn't there? It wasn't called Special Exports, was it? Like the Brian had recommended a Christmas movie.
Christmas movie,
with
I can tell you.
Rare Exports,
A Christmas Tale.
Yes, and I believe that was also Finnish.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that was one of our favorite movies that we had done up to that point as well, because it was so incredibly crazy.
Yeah.
And this is not to diminish their success, but I'm curious if we really like it because it's so rare. And we're like, whoa, what a novelty. What a crazy way to make a movie.
Dan, can you give our listener maybe like a 3-sentence synopsis of Rare Exports? Like it was.
So what happens?
He's going to talk about the naked elves.
which happens a few times. So they buried the demonic thing that was known as Santa Claus, which was actually a devil.
Right.
That's one sentence.
And they uncover him.
That's a second sentence.
And you know how much you love your run on sentences, Dan.
And his minions, which I'm going to call them minions,
comma, semicolon, comma,
dash.
Try to awaken him.
That's definitely a dash.
And
I've been rereading Elements of Style. Sorry, guys.
The elves are naked old people.
I loved that. That was so funny and so well done.
Yeah,
and like terrific. Santa Claus as evil, like
yes,
it worked. It totally worked.
He was a demon,
but a surprising Finnish movie that we watched, and I think that one was from 1993. Like it was somewhat dated.
Yeah, a little bit.
But this one. I mean, it feels a little timeless in kind of a way because it's all this 1947.
It's technically it's a period piece.
It is a period piece. The thing I was going to ask too, I know we touched on this, but there's a lot of callbacks in this movie to American Westerns.
Yes, we've said that a few times that it could be very side by side with the basis. The premise of the storyline is that you have someone, he finds gold, he's trying to get to civilization, and people, be it Indians or other criminal elements, try to steal it and then he has to get it back.
Yeah,
and then he at the end goes to a bank.
Spoilers, Dan. Spoilers.
Well, I mean,
but
he goes to a bank. That's all I'm going to say.
But overall, what a pleasure of a movie. I would say it's not appropriate for kids. There is a lot of gore. There's some real squeamish violence.
It's also at some points a slow paced movie.
It starts out
slow.
Yeah. So have some patience, but I think that patience is definitely rewarded.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think the pacing is on point though. It's purposefully done that way to help set the stage for how this character's mindset is and where he's coming from.
Yeah. He's very deliberate.
And then where the pace picks up and then slows a little bit, then picks back up and then slows down. And it's based on his interactions with his environment and the people that he's going after.
But every slow moment, there's a reason for it.
Yes. Exactly.
There's a reason for it. So,
so if you can't...
Don't watch it alone.
Yeah. And if you can't get these beers, what would we recommend? Like something that changes as you drink it? Something...
For this film, root beer schnapps, man.
Well, there you go.
Aaron, stop. Knock it off.
Clear or brown alcohol.
Gasoline directly on a wound,
which happens in this film a few times.
Bacardi 151.
I mean, I would not recommend like a light beer.
No, this is not light beer.
You want something with body for this. You want something that you have to sip. You have to sip slowly. Yeah. This is not a crushed beer. This is not a beer fest.
Actually, like Jägermeister might be.
That's not a beer.
It's not a beer, but Blake asked for what would you drink? If you can't find these beers,
Aaron, you know this is called movie and a beer.
I would drink Jägermeister with this movie. I'm sorry.
That can be.
And what would you be your beer chaser?
Anything. I wouldn't be picky because the Jägermeister would be the point.
Because you'd be problematic at that point.
I'd be ready to fight Nazis too.
You should always be ready to fight Nazis.
Well, okay, true, but yeah,
I understand what you're saying. I get you.
Yeah. So something with
So Dan, what do you drink if we can't find these beers?
I would go to my fridge and just pull an IPA out that I know doesn't go bad when it warms up, because you're going to want to slow sip this. This is not a crushing beer movie. This is a slow sipper because of the pacing, I think.
If you're knocking out 3 beers watching this movie, you're drinking a little fast.
Yes.
All right.
They should be slow and enjoyed like this film.
All right. And Blake, your drink of choice? Your poison of choice?
I mean,
water?
As a joke, I said gasoline, but... Well, Dan kind of took my answer. Like, something with the complexity. I could almost see drinking a heavy stout with this.
I was going to say.
I could see slow sipping like a really heavy, chocolatey...
Like double stout.
I could see doing that.
That can also be arranged.
Yeah.
I guess if Jägermeister was not available, a double stout would be my choice.
Stop saying it.
Jägermeister.
It's going to show up like Beetlejuice.
We're not trying to get a sponsorship or anything from Jägermeister.
Aaron can be the one that takes all the free samples. I am fine.
Yeah, they're all you.
Yeah, great episode, guys.
All right, as always, the opinions expressed during the taping of this episode are those of the hosts, and they didn't really hydrate a whole lot during this film.
No one really drank water, but if you don't hydrate, you're going to dehydrate. I'm not about to attempt a Finnish accent.
And the dude bathed in an ice cold river, and I was
wondering about that.
That's gonna hurt.
Once I realized it was from a river where he is, it's so cold.
I was like, oh no, he's probably numbed everything anyway, so
that's
it doesn't
true.
Really matter. But thanks for listening. Check this film out, Sisu.
Yep,
Sisu.
It's available. I think it's on Netflix.
I believe. Feels right. I feel like Netflix is making a big move to get out of the country stuff
with writer's strike.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Support your writers.
Support your writers.
Yeah. Pay your freaking writers.
All right. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. Yeah. Have a good one.
Dear listener, until next time, take care of your pickaxe, and your pickaxe will take care of you.
Yes, it will.
Don't worry, the dog lives.
Oh, spoil. All right. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.